Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 104 of Cameron's Social Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Strickland. Today I have with me Ernie Merlan. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing? Hey, thanks for having me on.
I'm doing good. Now, for any of the guys who don't know, Ernie is a art director who worked on TV shows and films, and some theme parks as well.
Yep. So I've been an Imagineer, so I've gotten to work in Imagineering. I've gotten to work on different movies like The Mask of Zorro and Dance with Me. But mostly I worked at Disney for a long time, doing amusement parks.
Nice. So let's begin our first question.
All right. Shoot.
So, how did you get interested in art?
Hmm. Well, I always liked to draw a little bit, but I was never that serious about it. And then at one point I decided, you know what, if I could do anything and just do the things something I love to do, why not art? And I just started painting. I started painting everything that I could.
Nice. So, what was your first art gig?
My first art gig, it was at a church. They needed a background for a nativity scene, so I went in and painted my version of that background for the church.
Nice. Let me go over to IMDb.
Okay. Well, do you want me to tell you a little bit about what I do now?
Sure.
Yeah, so I run a company called Muralism, and we hire only people with disabilities. Most of our crew has autism, and we paint murals all throughout Los Angeles. So we're doing murals. We've done 85 murals so far, 60 murals in elementary schools and high schools and things like that. And we plan to paint 100 murals by the Olympics that are coming up in Los Angeles.
Nice. So, you worked on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I did work on Pee Wee's Playhouse. I was hired to be a dialect consultant when I was still in college, and they asked me to just translate the scripts into Spanish because they had a character, Ricardo, that spoke Spanish on the show. And so I had to work with him and Pee Wee to speak Spanish properly.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Huh. That's a great question. I don't know about favorite episodes, but the different characters, Lawrence Fishburne as Cowboy Curtis, it will always be, one of my favorites. Um, just Pee Wee and the way that he made people laugh, at least always made me laugh.
Although Conky used to do the secret word of the day, and then
Yep.
Pee introduces the secret word, and then when someone said the secret word, they all scream out loud.
Yep. They did that. It was fun. It was fun. Everybody on the set would do it.
You know, there was a parody in Robot Chicken.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of that?
Well, I like where Pee Wee Herman introduced the word more.
Yeah. More. That was uh that was fun. Have you watched all of the episodes through and through?
I watched it on Netflix.
Yep. I think the ones that I worked on, because they moved to Los Angeles, I don't know that they ever got syndicated. So there's a bunch of episodes that are still out there that no one has seen.
And the show is streaming on Tubi.
Yep. So it won't be long now. We'll start to see it. We'll be able to see it every day on its own channel.
And let me see. Shows the word cancer.
That's a hard one, huh?
Yes.
I don't think I've seen that parody. You know what was fun on the show was getting to work with some of the puppets. The puppeteers, I was pretty young at the time, but they all let me play with their puppets, and I got to do Cherry a couple times and Clocky and things like that, and that was awful fun.
You puppeteered Cherry
Well, I wouldn't say I was the puppeteer, but I got the chance to puppeteer Cherry once.
and Clocky.
Yep.
Okay.
I learned a lot from the puppeteers and the remember in the show in the beginning of the show they had claymation where it was kind of a boat going over water. And I got to work with those sculptors and watch them make that kind of stuff. That was really what a great education to be on the show. Kind of
Nice.
set me up for my future career, right? Because I wanted to be creative the rest of my life. I guess come to think of it, that show changed my life, right? It led me down the path of um, realizing I could get paid to do art.
Moving on from Pee-wee's Playhouse, you got to work on The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, have you seen The Mask of Zorro?
I saw it on Rewind.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I got to go down and live there for 6 months or so, and we got to create all the sets for The Mask of Zorro. And so I had a lot of fun. Got to travel with friends and experience some cool things. There was one time where we had to build the set, paint it. My job was to paint it and make it look old, and then the set blew up. And then the next day we had to build it again and repaint it so that they could blow it up again. And that's the mine shaft scenes. That was super cool to be a part of.
You went down to Mexico.
Yep, I got to live in Mexico for a while to do this. We lived in haciendas that are out in the middle of the desert and no one around, and we had to hire people from all around to come work with us.
And you got to work on another film called Dance With Me.
Yep, that was in the Dominican Republic, and we got to go. I took an entire city street, like 2 blocks of a city, and repainted it. So, and then we made it look old again because it was the wrong color. And then we had to paint it back to the original thing. So that was a fun experience too. And to travel, it's really important to travel and see places around the world. And I was lucky enough to get to do that.
And what about The Legends of Zorro?
The Legend of Zorro came, it's the second in the sequence of movies. And it basically is when Antonio Banderas took over as the lead character.
He was the voice of Puss in Boots from Shrek.
He sure was. He sure was. And he's perfect for that, right? Because he's, kind of regal and fun and flamboyant.
And you got to be the editor for the Disco Principal.
That was just a little school project. I got to edit a movie. I really love editing. Editing is one of my favorite things to do. So I edit all kinds of movies. If you go to muralism.com, you'll be able to see all kinds of movies of the murals that we've made because I love to do editing.
Nice. What about Glory Days?
Oh wow, Glory Days was just a silly little film about a guy that moves to Thailand, and I got to make crowds. So he was at a concert, and I had to make all the people in the concert jumping up and down and screaming. And so that was when I moved into doing more like visual effects instead of building the sets themselves.
Another film you worked on was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, that was different. That was while I worked at a place called Exceptional Minds. It's a school that teaches young adults with autism to do visual effects and animation. And I was the principal of that school. So one of the things that we did as a group is that we did the credits for Planet of the Apes and we did some special effects for it.
And you worked on Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Well, again, all of those are films that we did while we were doing Exceptional Minds, while I was in charge of Exceptional Minds. We worked on many Marvel films and Star Wars. The crew even got their name on Star Wars.
And you worked on Ant-Man.
Yep. When you have a contract with a company like Marvel's, you just do many, many projects over and over. But all we did on that was do the credits and some visual effects.
What about the Hanover Games?
I don't remember the movie personally. Again, we did some special effects on it. Probably, I don't get to see all of the movies all the time.
And you worked on Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Chip.
Yep. So, what's it like where you live?
I live in Newfoundland.
Yeah, what's it like in Newfoundland? Is it cold?
Yes.
Is there a lot of snow?
Yes.
So outside it's all snowy right now?
Yes.
I see.
So, what was it like working on Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Chip?
I didn't work in credits on, which means just the names at the end of it. So I can't tell you much about that.
Okay. What about the Lookout?
I don't know, buddy. That's another one of those credit ones. We worked on the credits and special effects.
You worked on Captain America.
I
What'd you say?
more one of the things we worked on with Marvel, and we credits on as a school that I worked on, and I can tell you what it was like to be on it because I wasn't on it.
All right. We already talked about Captain America.
We sure did. Yep. And I could tell you more about the projects we're working on murals, or I can tell you about things like that, but I really don't have a lot to say about those movies that we did credits on. Is there anything else I can talk to you about?
Yes.
What else can we talk about? Can we talk about murals? Can we talk about stuff at Disney or at Pee-wee's Playhouse? What would you like to talk about?
Hmm. Let me see.
Would you like to talk about California and the things that you did while you were out here?
Sure.
Well, I'd like to know what places you went to while you were out here.
We were heading to Los Angeles touring, and then I never noticed Universal Studios Hollywood was here.
Yeah, did you go to Universal Studios Hollywood?
I never went there.
Uh-huh. Well, I live very close to there. I can even see it from here.
Okay.
Where else did you go in Los Angeles?
I visited the CBS studio.
Wow, that's close by. Did you tour the studio?
Nah, just on trolley.
Yeah. All right, cool. I got to get ready for that other call. Thanks so much for calling me, wanting to know more about the things I've done.
Oh, do you have a behind the scenes footage or photos of Pee-wee's Playhouse?
I honestly do not. We didn't have phones back then on the set, so I don't have any pictures of that. But you know what? If I can find a yearbook where we were in it, I'll send you that. Okay? I can do that. I've got a yearbook that I can take some pictures of from Pee Wee's Playhouse. Okay?
So what was it like working on Muppets Vision 3D?
I gotta go, buddy. Thank you so much for calling or for checking this out. Okay?
Wait, before we go,
Yes.
is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'd like to say thank you for asking me about me. I'm honored that you cared what I've done.
Nice.
So thank you. All right, buddy. I gotta go now. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Stay tuned, there will be more guests coming up. Until next time, peace.